Hey friends, Jonathan Neal Fitness here, and welcome back to Myofascial Mondays. And the first two Myofascial Mondays, we covered the masseter here, we got into that suboccipitalis back here. We're just going to follow that chain right on down into a possibly one of the most common ones, maybe even one that you've actually felt when you've got a little massage or a little shoulder rub, an area that is almost always tight in people, especially in our modern computer society. And of course what we're talking about is the upper trapezius up here, this upper trap. I'm sure again that you felt tension there, you felt when you're sitting at that computer, at that keyboard for a while, the shoulder blades come up, the shoulder, the acromion hook here, everything comes up, there's all that tension. And it ties in a lot to that masseter and it ties in lots of other ones, so I want to get to that one today. Now there's several different ways that we can approach this, and maybe in the future we'll do a different version. But for today, I want us to employ a very, very useful tool. And if you don't have one of these yet, I highly recommend you get some version of them. We have many different kinds of them. You can find them at the store. You can find them at Big Five and all over the place now. The original one that I heard of was by a company called Theracane, and it looks something like this. Now, if you've been in any of these kind of stores, you've probably seen some different kinds of hooks. I mean, they have little cheap ones that are just a couple bucks. Any of them will work. This is my favorite one because it has all these handles and little knobs. They can help us get better leverage in the technique, and also in future videos we'll show how they can help us to access other kind of hard to reach areas. And this upper trap really is one of those hard to reach areas in a lot of ways. Difficult to kind of get a ball in there because it's very difficult to get that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this hook. And again, you can use any kind of these hooks that you want. This is the one that I recommend because it works well for me, but use what works for you. As always, the real thing is how are we going to get that spot, how are we going to hold it there, and how are we going to enact that release. This one's pretty simple. Again, I'm basically just using this hook, and I'm just trying to find, now what's important is that you can feel out here this kind of bony protrusion up here. This is where the clavicle comes up and enters into the acromion here. Acromion hook is what we call it. When you go from there, you can feel this whole strip of tissue. It goes back to the shoulder blade, back up to the crest of the shoulder blade, and there's other muscles in here as well, the levator scapulae, but we're just calling it the upper trap for now. But it goes all the way back into there, and then it just stretches its way up through the neck and up to the back of the head. So the real area we're going to focus on with this hook is basically anywhere from that bone, from that hook, all the way up into the neck. Now we, of course, I'm not going to cover today anything about the side neck here, although that is a different area, but that's a little more technical. You got your spine right there. So let's just focus on the meat right here. Pretty obvious how we're going to get it. We're going to get this hook, we're going to get it in here, and we're basically just going to, again, one of the reasons I like this one with the handles is I'm letting gravity really do the work. So I'm getting that hook in there, I'm going to move around a bit, push in. A lot of times, if you haven't done this, it'll be pretty easy to find a spot, but I do a lot of this, and sometimes there's almost always a spot up there where you might have to look around, and you might actually have to kind of dig a little deep. So you can put a little bit of pressure in it, but we're always, with all this myofascial release, trying to use the least amount of effort you can. So I let this hand, just the gravity of that pushing down. With this bottom hand, I'm kind of pushing this away from the belly a bit. One, so that it doesn't dig into my belly, but two, also because you'll feel that it gives you a little more leverage. With just a little bit of a push forward here, it actually really drastically increases the amount of pressure you can get in. And again, if you haven't done this technique before here, it probably won't need that much pressure to really get in there. But if you've done it, or if you have a lot of muscle up here, if you've built a lot of muscle and you don't have quite as much adhesion, you might have to push a little harder, and that's where that can come in handy. We just add that little extra pressure. It also can allow you to adjust and kind of change the angle, and sometimes even just a little change of the angle of the hook can help us dig in and find that spot. As with all these techniques, our goal is to simply find the spot. So I explore around until on this side, right about there, I find a spot. And then I'm going to make sure that I stay on it. I'm going to keep myself breathing. You notice that I actually kind of tilt away from it, so I let those tissues just very lightly stretch open. So I'm not going all the way into a stretch, but I'm just letting those tissues open. I really don't want to be dropping my head towards it or hiking this shoulder up, because then I'm activating the same tissue I'm trying to relax. So while I get into that spot, I'm going to sit into it, and then I really just want to breathe and try to relax, because the more, as always, that you can relax internally, relax your nervous system, relax your breath, the easier it's going to be for these spots, these adhesions, to release. So that's the technique. Again, pretty simple. We're just using this thing to dig in there. But as always, it is about holding that spot for enough time that you actually feel the release, and that's a big part of it. Very often, it can be pretty tender, so we might stop a little bit before. I really, really encourage you with this one and with all myofascial release to really give yourself the time. Have the patience, have the dedication, have the commitment to that spot to really give it time to fully release. And that's what's going to make the change. That's what's going to help you to feel better up here and to let those shoulders drop down, get that more pronounced openness in the chest and in the ribs, and just in general, help to get ourselves out of that desk posture and into that good neutral spot. So again, this is Jonathan Neal Fitness, and I really appreciate you guys watching this, and I would even more appreciate you implementing these techniques so that you can feel and move better. If you like this kind of content, please go ahead and click like. If you want to continue to see it, every Monday I'm going to cover another spot, so come on back here, subscribe, and you'll get notified of that right away. If you feel like this could help someone, and I guarantee it can, please feel free to share it as well. Again, this is Jonathan Neal Fitness, and I do appreciate you all watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day or night wherever you are. Take care, and I'll see you next time.